Welcome to PPR Podcast number 115. My name is Paul Rudy. I am but a spoke in the wheel. The star of this podcast is to my right. San Diego Strike Force president and former first-round draft choice in the NFL. Mr. Bert Grossman. Bert, would you like to introduce our guest in the hot seat?
I would. Jack Stevens from Cathedral had his coming out party last week, not only on the field, obviously, but I would say in the interview room as well with his hat. Jack, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Well, I'm doing well. I was thinking about all the things you said in our interview, and I thought, you know what? Let's make it up to this young man. Let's get on the train. So that's why you're in the podcast today. And we feel fortunate that. Aren't you supposed to be in class right now?
Yeah. I got excused. I'll make up my econ homework to Mrs. Harrington tonight.
Wait, which class are you missing right now?
Econ.
Econ.
Wow.
Just out of curiosity, what's your favorite? What's your subject material? If you weren't playing football, what would you want to be doing with your life?
I wanna be a psychologist. So when I go to college, wherever that is, I wanna major in psych. So this year I'm taking AP psychology, and that's probably my favorite class. And then after that, like a normal subject, I'd say probably history.
And what is your fascination with psychology?
I think it makes you a better leader, being able to relate to all different types of people on your team, especially a school like Cathedral where you have kids from the best neighborhoods and some kids from not so good ones. You have to be able to relate to all different types of people, and knowing how to talk to people and get the best out of them and, understand their feelings, I feel like is pretty important for every lifestyle, especially a quarterback.
So that's interesting, because talking to your coaches before the game, these are what they say about you. You have command, presence, leadership, accountability for not only yourself, but you force accountability for everybody else. Is that part of your psychology training, or just natural?
I think that's just part of, being the man and being the quarterback for Coach Doyle's team. That's something that he instills in all of us. I feel like if you were to ask Coach Doyle to talk about any one of his players, those would be some things that come up, because Coach doesn't want to have to police us about little things. We want to keep each other accountable and kind of keep it in-house. Like if you're doing something wrong, then your brother should tell you. It shouldn't have to be a coach, because we all want the same thing, and that's a championship.
Boy, if you want to start your practice, I would just get Bert as your first patient. That's at least 3 sessions a week, maybe more.
Probably.
Yeah, just get over the bedwetting.
I did wet the bed till about 8th grade, but I'm not going to bring that up today. That's another podcast.
Young man, we touched
Can I ask something?
Sure.
You brought that up. I think a lot of, Coach Montali and Coach Doyle have been there so long. They're so humble and understated, but I think people, unless you're around it like Paul and I are, you don't realize how much they actually give to these kids, how much, they impact their life. I mean, the things they do, because they're so humble. You never hear them talk about themselves ever.
Yeah. We do something called Crucible. I don't know if you guys have heard about that, but we stay at school we get to school on 5 a.m. on, say, a Saturday, and we're on the field doing basically Navy SEAL training until 10 p.m. at night, and every single coach is there, including Coach Montali and Coach Doyle, and they're there doing everything with us every step of the way, talking to us through it all. So they do so much for us, and I'm forever grateful for everything they've done, and I'm not even done with my senior year yet. So
what's the hardest part of that Crucible training?
Probably the tire. We have to. Each group, the whole team is assigned to 5 tires, and wherever, if you want to go eat upstairs, if you want to go grab your stuff, if you want to go to another side of the field, you guys have to have the tire above your head, and you're carrying it with your group all the way over there, and you're setting it down in a line. And if you don't make the time that Coach gave us to get it there, then we have to bring it back, or if it's not lined up correctly, we have to bring it back. So that's probably the hardest part, in my opinion.
I would have been transfer portal day one.
Is there video or pictures of that at all?
I think maybe the first year I came, my junior year, there might have been some from a kid who does photography at our school, but not this year.
But no. Can you track down those pictures for us?
I think I can, and we'll be out there while white T-shirts with our last names on the front and back. It's Yes, Coach, Yes, all of that stuff.
Maddie?
What do you think about, how should I put this? Coach Doyle's mustache. You think it's time for that to go away? There's been a lot of talk around town that it might be a little dated. It might be time to get out of the way and go.
No, that's got to stay. It's got to stay. The mustache it's awesome. I love it. It's one of the first things I noticed about him, and it's one of my favorite things.
Well, explain how, because you're not a 4-year kid there, so explain the route to becoming the starting quarterback at Cathedral Catholic started where?
So I was at Green Valley High School my freshman, sophomore year in Las Vegas. I was with Coach Castro my freshman year and sophomore year, and then he retired, and my family felt it was, best. My dad was looking for a new job, and, to play big-time college football, you got to play big-time high school football. So, I wanted to go to Cathedral, and we applied and went through all the processes, and I got in, and my dad applied for a job and got the job. So we came to Cathedral, and that's how this came about.
So, the one thing I noticed about you watching the game is you have this no wasted motion, clean release. And I know Cathedral's a wing tee historically. Do you have a different coach that you go to, or where'd you get all that from?
Yeah, 100%. In my opinion, the best quarterback coach in the country, Danny Hernandez. He works out of LA primarily, but he'll come down to Oceanside, and he's even come to Cathedral, which is awesome to work with me. And he also works with Julian, and I think he's been working with Julian for a while. And he's worked with Malachi Nelson, Butter from Jay Sarah, all the top guys around town he works with, and he's awesome. I love him. So that's who I work with.
Well, let's deal with the 800-pound gorilla in the room, because you had a bone to pick with us, and I want to give you a chance to air it, because you feel like
it was you, it wasn't me. He told me privately it was just you.
I don't want to put you on the hot spot, because you've been nothing but a gentleman, and I have nothing but respect for you. But you feel like we kind of overlooked you a little bit, and when we're talking about this quarterback and that quarterback, and when somehow your name didn't come up, and I want to plead guilty to that. I think you're right. You're obviously a quality quarterback that got left out of the conversation. So let's talk about those. Do you feel like those hurt feelings might have inspired you to even higher levels of performance?
Oh, there's a lot of good quarterbacks around town, a lot of great quarterbacks around town. The names that come to mind for me are Julian and Rylan Jesse. So, it's not like you guys are just talking about nobodies. Those are really good quality quarterbacks. And I didn't have the best year last year. I'll be the first one to say it. But it's definitely, not being talked about, I feel like fuels everybody. If you're not the top guy and you want to be the top guy, you got to keep working. And, whether it's you who wasn't talking about me or as someone else, it wasn't really ever anybody else that was fueling me. It was more myself, trying to become the best version of myself. So, I guess it was cool to say in the interview, but it was mostly, myself that wanted to be the best version of myself as a quarterback.
But it's got to be. I mean, you said you didn't have the best year last year. Cathedral didn't have the best year last year, which we weren't used to, but you still managed to be getting offers and racking them up. I mean, that's got to be kind of cool. Even though yourself, this is about 60% of what I am and what I can do, but you're still getting offers already. Let's
talk about those offers. Who has offered you so far?
So far, I got offered by Portland State, Lehigh, Appalachian State, Arkansas State, UNLV, and UC Davis. So those are the schools who've offered me so far.
Those are some quality places. UC Davis, quality place to get an education. And
Lehigh, too.
Lehigh, oh yeah, geez, I forgot about it.
Yeah.
But obviously, in your back of your mind, you're thinking, have a monster year here, and let's see how the chips fall, right?
Yeah, something I talk about with Coach Danny all the time is, betting on myself, putting in the work, and just letting my play speak for me. So I guess for me, as a recruit, my first 3 games are the most important, and I feel like I started it off correctly versus Mater Dei with a good team win and, a nice performance. But I got to keep it going with 2 really good opponents, Chaminade and Brophy Prep. So, I'm excited to see what happens. I have some really good opportunities on the table right now. But if something better were to come, or I'm waiting to see what happens.
What's the phrase that put it on tape?
I don't know. I'm not.
Or, I mean,
I still wet the bed. You're asking
no,
me.
but I mean, you have to put it on tape, right? I mean,
Yeah.
for the offers to roll in, everything's based on what you put on tape, right?
Yep. Yes, sir. 100%. It's about what you do on the field. It doesn't really matter what you're doing in shorts and t-shirt. So.
Could you imagine going one weekend to Lehigh, which is all farms and Amish, and then the following weekend visiting UNLV in Las Vegas?
Yeah, it would be culture shock.
Huh.
But it depends on. I mean, how important is the education in the recruiting element of all this?
It's really important to me and definitely my family. My mom works for the University of San Diego, and my dad's been an administrator as long as I've been alive. He started off as a PE teacher, then became a dean of students, and eventually a principal, and now he's the athletic director here at Cathedral.
Hey, you went to that Elite 11 up in LA, right?
Yes, sir.
What is, they have the testing numbers and then they come out with a score. What are the actual testing numbers based on?
So I guess it's called like a Spark score, I think is the correct term for it. And it's based on a 5-10-5 shuttle, a 40-yard dash, a med ball throw from your knees, and a vertical jump.
Oh, so it's like a combine kind of thing.
Is this the thing Julian won?
No.
Yeah, so Julian got voted on to make the a real Elite 11. So he went to the regional, got voted to go to the real Elite 11, and then he won the Elite 11 MVP.
So, you know his game. What is the difference between, say, guy who goes to the regional Elite 11 and the guy who wins the national one? What's the difference between your games in your view?
Between mine and Julian's?
Yeah.
I think me and him play a different type of quarterback. Definitely, I think I threaten teams with my feet a little more than he does. But I think there's stuff that I do better than him. But I definitely think there's stuff that he does better than me, and that's stuff that I have to work on because he's been really good at it as long as I've known him. So I think that his pocket awareness and stuff like that is second to none, and I think he has really good timing, and anybody who throws with him knows that his arm is amazing. So he's a really good player, and something I'm thankful for is being in the same city as him because it always gives me something or someone to chase.
So when you were in Las Vegas, did you go to a Catholic school there, or did you go to private?
I went to a public school.
So what's the difference between your first 2 years at the public school in Las Vegas and these 2 years, your last 2 years at Cathedral? And do we have enough time for you to tell us the difference?
Yeah, it was definitely a culture shock, like extremely. Not having a uniform, I guess, is the biggest difference, or going to a school that had 4,000 kids in Las Vegas to a school at Cathedral that I think has around 1,800. But the main difference, I'd say, and the best difference is just the quality of teachers and education and, students here. Like, I'm not saying there's not great ones at Green Valley, but definitely teachers care a little bit more here at Cathedral. It's an awesome place to be, and I'm thankful I'm here.
It's like a college experience, is it not? I mean, or
Yeah.
you hope it is.
Walking around campus here and walking around some schools that I visited, it's kind of like, it kind of looks the same, which is awesome.
You guys have the ZAC that you just opened up, which most colleges don't even have, the bar and this, lounge and big screens, and then you got the pool and then the baseball fields, and then you probably have a pickleball complex there. I don't even know. Is there anything?
Well, we got some tennis courts. I don't know if anyone's
there you
played pickleball there, but there's a chance.
All right, how much grief did you take for wearing the PPR Game of the Week hat?
Coach Doyle actually texted me yesterday morning. He said, "You owe for the hat." So I could have called that one. And my mom and my dad, they were definitely like, "Oh, that hat was interesting." And
do you get to keep that hat? Did they let you keep it?
That was actually the first question I asked, and they're like, "Oh, the player of the game gets to wear it." And I was like, "All right, well, that's fair."
You need to make like 12 of those. Come on.
But let me ask you a question. When you owe, what do you owe?
Depends on the Monday. It depends on how Coach Doyle's meetings went that day, I guess. It's sometimes it's 40 yards. Sometimes it's just I'm gonna sit right here and just watch you go sideline to sideline until I feel like it's right. So it just depends.
I want to apologize for that, but I do find it hysterical. Sorry about that, kid.
Well, I was going to ask you, because last year, I mean, you got here with 3 or 4 weeks before the season, so you really get off season, but Cathedral was really good that year. I was going to ask you, what's it like at an off season with Cathedral being 6-6 compared, because they're never 6-6, compared to a previous year? But I guess I can just ask you, what was the off season like? Was that the focus? They talk about that a lot, because that is not Cathedral.
No, it's definitely not. Talking to coaches after the offseason was over, we went harder than a team that he can remember, than Coach Doyle or Coach Barry and Coach Montali can remember. We went hard in the weight room. We conditioned. We took a lot of time in extra meetings. We installed something this year called pre-practice that we didn't do the year before, where we're starting practice at 3, but we're out there at 2:45, walking through stuff and making sure our practice is crisp, because wasted reps does nothing for anybody.
I saw, what I saw? I think I saw today Marcus Ratcliffe's going to be a true freshman starter this week. You guys going to bring the team together and all go check out the first game?
I think that'd be a good idea. I haven't talked about that, but I definitely want to go, because when I first moved here, Marcus was kind of my mentor. He was somebody I looked up to, and he was kind of that guy that always worked harder than everyone else and didn't have anything to say, but he led by his actions and his hard work. And it doesn't surprise me or anybody else who knows him that he's going to start as a true freshman.
So are you going to pretend that was your idea to get the team together and go watch him play the first game, or are you going to give me credit?
I think I might, as long as you guys don't air this part. I think.
All right, I'll wait till next week.
We'll delete it. We touched on it in our, and I know we've briefly touched on it in this conversation, but we talked about it when you were on the pre-PR with us last week, about, there are certain positions at certain schools that just are a big deal. Being the quarterback, the starting quarterback at Cathedral, is a big deal. You're probably, the most recognizable face on campus. I'm curious, is that fun? Is that a pain in the ass? Well, how do you treat that experience?
To me, it doesn't really make a difference if I was the quarterback of the school or, somebody who just did my work and went home and enjoyed a normal life. I don't really pay attention to the off the field stuff or look for any praise from anyone. I kind of just like playing football and hanging out with my teammates in the locker room, and that's about it. So it is definitely a huge role. Coach Doyle is always saying everyone's looking at you when you do something wrong, and you got to be able to set the example. So in that aspect, I definitely take it seriously to make sure I'm doing the right things on campus. But in the aspect of, being the most recognizable face, it doesn't really bother me much.
But it has to make things like prom and homecoming pretty easy. Well, I mean, you know how many people I had to ask before?
I can't even imagine. Don't listen to him. He didn't even go to prom. He went to an all-boys school. So you come from Las Vegas. I'm always fascinated by this. You were a 3-star then. You obviously could throw the ball. Was there any thought that, I know your dad's at Cathedral, but they're running wing T. It's not exactly quarterback you there. Was there any thoughts of maybe, should I look at Saints maybe? Should I look at Modern Day? Should I look at Carlsbad? Was there any thoughts of that I don't want to go to a wing T school?
Never. There was never any thoughts about going anywhere else in San Diego. Coach Doyle said from the start when I first met him was, if we have a quarterback that can throw the ball, then I'm going to throw the football. And if we can't, then we're going to hand it off. So I always had confidence in myself and confidence in Coach Doyle that he was going to do what's right for the team. And, I feel like when there's games where we're allowed to throw the ball, Coach Doyle is going to let us throw it, So it doesn't really bother me. And, yeah, I had no intention of going to Saints. I want to make that clear.
Well, you made it clear.
Boy.
Wow, all right.
The gauntlet's been laid down.
I want to make that clear.
Young man, this is a question I ask every week, so don't be bored by it. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think the best piece of advice I've ever received is just do you. Don't worry about the outside noise. Don't worry about what others have to say about you. Worry about yourself and what you have to do first, because the only person you can control is yourself, and the only thoughts you can control are yourself, and the only actions you can control are your own. So I think that's the best piece of advice and something that I focus on a lot.
You know, I want to go back to the Doyle thing because you made a good point. I think, you know, most of the coaches in high school are stuck with their system, and no matter how great a player they have in a certain system, that player has to fit in the system instead of the system fitting into that player. I don't think I've ever seen Cathedral throw the ball as much as they did in that modern day game. I don't think I've ever seen them empty. I don't ever think I've seen them in shotgun. But I mean, that's a good point. I mean, you don't see a lot of coaches. I mean, they're stuck on their system, especially somebody as successful as Coach Doyle's been and the team's been. I mean, that says a lot for a coach that's willing to say, you know, I know the system's been great to me for 20-some years, 30 years, but we have a guy and we're going to change it for him. You don't see that a lot in high school.
Yeah, Coach Doyle is the ultimate competitor and the ultimate winner, 100%. He's going to do whatever it takes to win, and we're going to do whatever it takes to win as a team and an offense. So I'm sure this year there's going to be games where Coach says to me, hey, we're going to gash this team at the run, and I'm going to be totally okay with that because I want to win. You know, team comes first no matter what. So and then there's going to be some weeks where I know he's going to come to me and say, you know, this is going to be wide open, and I'm going to say, all right, then let's do it. So I'm thankful for Coach Doyle and his open mind and his, you know, willingness to do whatever it takes to win.
One last question. You're going to prom, all right? I'm going to give you a choice here. You're going to prom. Someone tells you have to wear the PPR Player of the Week hat or Coach Doyle's mustache to prom. Which one are you picking?
It's definitely a hard one. I think I'm going to go on the mustache. I think I definitely rock the mustache, especially because, you know, Cathedral prom would be pretty recognizable. And that hat was just
terrible.
Man, that hat's, I don't know what to say about that hat.
Well, you couldn't use it in a convertible.
No.
Oh, well, young man, we want to appreciate you, man. Well, you should be thanking us because we got you out of econ.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
But thanks for making time for us.